are. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Energy Explorer Live series. I'm Erica. I'm on the marketing team here at iPEC. And our mission here is to raise the consciousness of the world one person at a time. And so this Energy Explorer series highlights one iPEC graduate at a time who's using their talents, their drive, and their highest selves to live their purpose. And then our guest today is Gina Martin. And we'll start by hearing her story and talking about her experience, and then we'll make space for your questions. So you can drop those in the Q&A box on Zoom, or if you're on Facebook, you can drop them in the comments there, and Evan will help us see those questions so we can answer them in a bit. Thank you, Evan. So like I said, our guest today is Gina Martin, an iPEC graduate and coach. Gina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Erica, for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to just share a little piece of, my journey with iPEC. So my name is Gina Martin. Like you mentioned, I am an executive leadership and high performance coach, and I work with high achievers, who are looking to just level up. And I have a retail background of over 20 years, which, makes me very unique for my coaching experience. So I spent about 20 years working in different leadership roles in large retail companies where I led teams of up to 600 people. And, as later on in my career, I was faced with a transition. I, decided to become a coach, and I'll share a little bit about that as we go on. But yeah, so now I'm a full-time coach, and I'm just excited to be here. I'm also a mod support coach for iPEC, so I stay really close with iPEC because I just love the experience and the energy, the anabolic energy that I experience every time I'm surrounded with folks from iPEC.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing. I love that anabolic energy as well. So I'd love to hear, what did your journey to becoming a coach look like? You mentioned that retail experience, and then what drew you to iPEC? Like what made that shift happen, and what felt good about iPEC?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I went through a job transition. After 20 years, I found myself without a job. Many people experience that. It's happening all over again in the market. And when I found myself in that position, I had already been in the career, over 20 years. And I said, what should I do next? So it was actually my first chance at hiring a coach. So I ended up having a life coach and a career coach. And as I was having conversations at different points of my job search, because of course I needed to go find my next thing, they both asked me at different occasions. They were like, "Oh, have you ever thought about becoming a coach?" And I was like, "Well, not really, but two things." I think the first one was I always dream of being a motivational speaker. That was like, when you have your dream career. And the other one was that the part I enjoyed the most about my job over all those years was the people part, the development, recruit, hire, train, coaching, just seeing people grow to a different level. And that just brings, it just brings so much joy into my career. So I said, what, this might be the opportunity of really impacting others, from a coaching perspective, and then maybe getting a little closer to that dream job of becoming a motivational speaker. So I started searching because, of course, for me, this was going to be my next career. It was really important that whatever accreditation I was seeking was going to be something that was going to be powerful, that was going to be recognized by the ICF, and it was going to be a really good program. I was in a place in my life too, where I was doing a lot of personal growth and development. And, I wanted that to really be a key. And I started looking at schools, and I actually matched the top 2 schools right now in the US, and iPEC was one of them. And as soon as I heard about the ELI, energy leadership, and the assessment, I was like, oh, this is it. This is it for me. Because throughout my career, I had a lot of experience in different assessment, strengths finders, DISC assessment, and I found those so valuable with teams and with individual that I thought, oh my goodness, this was great. And then just, enrolling and chatting with my admission coach, it was just such a great experience. I didn't feel like, I was sold to. It was more like these people wanted to make sure that I succeeded if this is what I decided. And that's what really got me started. And it's just been an amazing journey ever since.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Yes, they really are there just to support you in whatever is next for you. So I love that you had that experience and shared it. Thank you. I'm curious. So once you became a coach, what did it look like for you to figure out sort of who do I exactly want to work with? And then how do you currently work with those clients in your
Yeah,
coaching capacity?
totally. So of course, at the beginning, when I first enrolled in the program and I was building the business on the side, I still had to go get a full-time job, because I still needed the income. So this was more about building, what they call the side gig, right? So the good news was that everything in iPEC was structured in a way that I was able to handle it, while I was managing my full-time job. And as the clients started to come in, I was able to be really strategic. I think the program is built in a way that you have everything on a schedule and you can easily, merge the two. So it took me a while. I did get a full-time job. I did start getting clients on the side, and I went through the 9-month process, of becoming a coach. So at first, the funny part is like you have so much transformational moments and you have so much awareness, right? It's almost like the glasses have come off and now you can see clearly, or maybe the other way around. But once you start seeing the transformation that takes place and going through the training, you start thinking that you can help everybody. So you're like, oh, I can coach everybody. I'm just going to be a life coach and I'm going to coach the heck out of everybody that comes my way. Does that sound familiar?
Absolutely relatable.
And you just went to Mud. Yeah. You just went to Mud One. So I'm sure this is resonating for you.
Absolutely. Once you know, you can't unknow it. And then you're like, everyone needs this. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about sort of how you went from that sort of everyone to where you are now mentality.
Yeah. I think the getting through the program, it was really important that as soon as I was doing the program, I was also starting to get clients, because it definitely helped build your confidence as a coach and the ability to say, hey, I can do this full time. And then eventually, right, once I graduated, then it was all about business development, right? And how do I get the business going so that I can eventually transition? Sorry, I'm a little sorry about that.
That's
I think it's allergies. I have a nice big dog that's sitting right here with me. Anyway, so after graduating and now saying, okay, now I start, you start thinking about all of the things, right? Marketing and website and all of that good stuff. At first, it was difficult to identify who was the client. But I was able to take a lot of different trainings and learn from a lot of people that were doing what I wanted to be doing. And I would say the things that helped me identify who was going to be the client I wanted to work with were 3 things. The first one was looking at your experience. What is the experience that you have? And I think leadership has always been a really strong phase for me and strength. So that was something that was obvious. The second one is maybe a part of your life where you had your own transformation, and then the third one was something you're passionate about. So when you focus on those three, it makes it easier for you to kind of hone down on who you want to serve and what kind of coach you want to be. And for me, it was really the high achievers. For me, I wanted to work with high achievers because I was a high achiever, and I was a recovering high achiever. I still am. So I think it was important to me that I work with high achievers. In what capacity? Probably a leadership and, executive level, because of the background that I had. And I will tell you, though, it evolves as my business went from being a life coach, from being a leadership coach into now being an executive and leadership coach. It kind of evolves a little bit. Your passion remains the same, but it just helps you. It helps you narrow down the marketing piece and also be known as an expert. Because if you're able to hone in a specific area, category, then you start establishing that authority that you need as a coach so that people recognize you. So I would say that's the chunk in how I decided to become the coach. But don't be hard on yourself. I mean, it's a journey, and you start in one place, and I'm sure it'll evolve, 2-3 years from now, and I'll be doing something else, but it's all great. You got got all the tools that you need. Now it's just about deciding who you want to serve.
Absolutely. I love that. I was just going to say, if we were having this conversation 10 years from now, but you would say, a different set of things. And because all of your experience will evolve and your passions will evolve and all of those things. So thank you for sharing all of that. You mentioned working with high performing people, particularly women, but it sounds like lots of different kinds of people. And I remember when we talked before this live event, you mentioned that our achievement can also often get tied to our self-worth and how it can be difficult sometimes to sort of balance, for high performing people to balance the different roles we play in our lives, especially if ambition is really present or that sort of drive forward is really present. Can you talk a little bit about sort of what you've seen there, maybe your own experience, and how sometimes people move forward from that? I know it's different for everyone, but just anything you want to share there would be great.
Well, I got a funny story for you.
I'm ready.
The funny story is, for the beginning part of my career, my professional career, I used to believe that as long as everything was going well career-wise, I could just put out the fires everywhere in my life. It was like, I could put up this fire, I could survive this challenge, no problem, as long as everything is going well here. So hence, that caused a lot of dissatisfaction with other areas of my life. Failed relationships, my finances at some point were on fire, so just other things can suffer because you have this mentality about who you are and how your career determines your worth. It was as if the more I achieve at work, and the more I'm able to succeed and level up, then it's okay. I'm proving my worth, and that's it. This is who I am. But then what happens is two things. The first one is the other areas of your life are suffering and you're not really living life. You're just going through the motions. But the other piece of that is, guess what? I lost my job. So what happens when someone loses their job and they're a high achiever? You go through like a crazy time in your life because you lose your identity, you lose your self-worth, you lose your confidence. I remember feeling like I was worthless, when I went through my transition. It was tough. And the challenge is that I see that happening in my clients too. It's not just me, this is something very common. And it's almost like you're living life from a place of doing as opposed to a place of being. So there's a lot of work to be done about that, because listen, achievement is great. And I remember doing our values exercise, which helped me a lot determine who I was, and my number one value that I held on to was achievement, and it kept on showing up in other areas of my life. And there's nothing wrong with achievement. The challenge is that when achievement becomes the only way that you can prove your worth, or the only way you're to identify yourself, and the only way you live, then when you lose that, you've lost everything. So that's the biggest challenge. So it's really about doing a deep dive, into what it is that you really value in life. And there's going to be things that are going to happen in your life that are going to make you face that, whether you want it or not. And there are opportunity for you to take charge and do that before, something happens. But it is important that you determine what you really value. And if it's family, if it's, fun and enjoyment, if it's hobbies, if it's something else, it's really important that you start figuring out how do you prioritize other things in your life without necessarily giving up the achievement, right? And it's really about, honestly, just taking the pressure off, because the only person that's telling you to achieve is you, is the internal judge, is the internal, voices telling you that you have to constantly be achieving, otherwise you're not, you're not good enough. So it's really about tackling that. Once you start working with a coach and tackling that, is what's going to help you see that life is much more than just achievement, right? Life is really about being present in the moment, enjoying what you have today, and making time for your friends and family and the people that you value, and making time to take care of yourself, because you cannot take care of others if you don't take care of yourself.
So true. It's so true. And what I was thinking, what kind of came up as you were talking, is that I feel like we sometimes think about going through coach training as we're going to get to this point we are coaching other people, and it's also so valuable for yourself. I have already just been through mod one, already learned so much about myself, and I know it's a self transformation process as much as it is sort of moving toward becoming this person that can coach others. And I feel like I had something else to say there, and it is gone. But, could you speak to sort of how coaching has shown up in your personal life? So having gone through the program, learned the skills that you learned, made the shifts that you made, how has that showed up in your life and your business?
Well, in a lot of ways, and it was really eye-opening for me. I had a conversation with my daughter not too long ago. I have two older daughters. And one of the biggest way it has impacted my life is I'm available for my kids. I'm available. And she's like, Mom, I used to never see you. And now I see you. I'm able to enjoy you a lot more and enjoy our time together. And I would say that was like, oh, wow, you're right. Working in retail, I miss so many holidays. I remember eating turkey and going right to work, so it's like I miss so many holidays. And now I'm able to really manage my time and in a way that I could definitely be there for my family. And I would say that's number one. Number two, I think it has enabled me to really 10x my impact. I think a lot of times when we have a career, we want to have a big impact, but a lot of times we are faced with either trying to get balance or trying to get a salary or trying to make the income, right? And we don't get that. And I think that becoming a coach has enabled me to really have a bigger impact in the community, in my family, in my friendship circles, and, allow me to really find my voice and put myself out there, share my story. And I think the third way that I would tell you, it really helped me personally, you talked a lot about personal transformation. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in February of 2021. And I had graduated from iPEC. I had started my business. I was just transitioning into becoming a full-time coach. And I got diagnosed with a pretty serious illness. I think I have stage 3 breast cancer. And I would tell you, I don't think that I would have had probably the same mindset that I did going through a cancer journey have I not gone through coach training. Yes, my entire life I was resilient, I was a rock, I was a go-getter. And those are traits that really showed up for me my entire life. But going through coach training really helped me see the world in a different way, helped me see possibilities in a different way, helped me understand that every journey is unique. And not because it necessarily meant that someone going through breast cancer had a certain experience, it meant that that was the same experience I was going to have. And I was able to really go through, a grueling, probably 12, 14 months of treatment in between chemo, radiation, multiple surgeries. And I remember showing up bald, with no hair to my treatment or to my doctor's appointment. And I was always so, happy and on that level 5, level 6 energy. And the doctors were like, oh my God, you're just such a great patient. How are you doing this? And I was only able to do that because I learned a lot, and I went through a really big transformation during coach training. So I definitely think that it impacted my experience. Thank you, thank you, Lord, that I am, cancer-free, 14 and a half, what is it? Maybe it's been about a year and a half journey. So really excited. I think that's one of the biggest way this has helped me and supported me.
Oh, thank you for sharing all of that. I think you touched on some things that a lot of people can relate to, sort of relationships and being present and impact and navigating, whatever it is that comes up in our lives that can feel challenging sometimes. So that's really beautiful. I'm just going to pause and say if anybody has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I could keep asking questions all day, but we'd also love to answer your questions. And while we see if anybody has anything to ask, I was going to ask this as well. I don't think you mentioned when you graduated from the program, but I'd love to hear like when you graduated and sort of anything else that brings up, like what your timeline has looked like, or anything else.
Yeah, totally. I actually graduated early 2020.
Okay.
It was right before we went into pandemic. So it was cool. I got to do my mods in person. So I went through iPEC in 2019, graduated early 2020. And soon after graduating, I was a member of the International Coach Federation from the moment I enrolled in the program. And very quickly after I graduated, I was able to get my ICF accreditation, the ACC, and I'm working on my PCC now, which is next. But yeah, it has been definitely a great journey. And I think the other thing is staying close through the ICF, staying close to iPEC, surrounding myself with a great support system of peers and coaches definitely helped me succeed, because as my business started to take off in 2021 and I had to step back to say, wait, I got to take care of myself. Now I had to take care of myself. I was lucky enough to have a great network of peer coaches that some of them gave me free coaching, believe it or not, while I was going through cancer treatment. Some of them were sending me goodie bags. Some of them were able to flex in and help me with some of the existing clients that I had and some of the contracts. So I think it was really amazing that I was able to make so many friends and peers that supported me and still support me throughout this journey. So I think that was important as well, so that when I was able to start kicking the business back up, it was easy for me to come and volunteer in iPEC, because then I was like, okay, I haven't been coaching for a little bit. Let me go volunteer. Let me get going. And, I think it's important that you stay close to your school, to the coaching federation, so that you're able to really surround yourself with great people.
I love that. What a beautiful experience to have that community sort of step in for you and be there with you during that time. You mentioned earlier, level 5, 6 energy, and I know what that means, but I feel like that the energy levels are such a fantastic part of this experience. So I'd love for you to share just a little bit about what that means, so that people who are here who might not be totally familiar can kind of get that as well.
Yeah, totally. And this is my favorite way to describe the energy levels. And I want you to think that you are entering a mall, one of your favorite malls. You're entering a mall and you're going through the garage that's at the bottom of that mall. Okay. And I want you to just imagine for a moment that you're going into that garage and you're going to enter a glass elevator. Then you are going to look around and you're going to see very limited possibilities. It's dark, it's gray, it's cement, it's cold. You're feeling a little like unsure what's happening here. There's no way out, only this one elevator, and you get in, right? But there's not a lot of possibilities. And you start riding that elevator and you go to level 2 and you realize you're quite not there yet, right? And you start getting a little angry, a little like aggravated, because now you see like doors and offices, and maybe this is where the bathrooms are and it's not too pretty, and you're kind of aggravated, and you keep on going up the elevator, and now you get to level 3. Level 3 doesn't look that great, but guess what? I start seeing maybe the food court and maybe some people and maybe the bathrooms, and there's a little more possibility, but still very limited. And then you just climb up to level 4 and then level 5, and you start seeing all the stores, all the beautiful places that you want to shop. And now you're feeling like there's a lot of opportunities for you. You can't wait to tap into them. And you start feeling really excited, right? You're in the right place. Wow, awesome. And then you just elevate yourself and you get to that level 7, and you are at the top of that building. And now you have a 360 view of the entire world around you. And you just take it all in and see everything for the amazing visibility and possibilities that they are for you. How does that sound?
Oh, I love that explanation so much. As soon as you got on the elevator, I was like, oh, so excited to see how you explain this. And it was better than I could have come up with. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's just about choices. The higher you are in the energy levels, the more choices you're going to have and the more possibilities you're going to see for yourself.
Absolutely. I love that. Is there anything else that you want to share? It doesn't look like we have any questions. Feel free to drop them in if you have them. But is there anything else you want to share or tell everyone about anything? You name it.
Well, I think it's about, really learning to be self-compassionate throughout this journey, whether you're deciding to become a coach or start your own business, right? Start this part-time role or full-time job. It's important that you're kind to yourself and you allow yourself to just trust the process and go through the journey. And the other thing is get ready to overcome imposter syndrome, because it's going to happen. I think imposter syndrome is something that is very real for anyone that's either doing a transition, whether you are transitioning from one role, from an industry, or you're just becoming a coach, becoming an entrepreneur. You're going to be faced with a lot of self-doubt, and you're going to be in positions thinking that, it might be easier to just, go after that shiny object, and we get really distracted. You start going after different people that are selling you different things and courses, not realizing that you got everything it takes to be a great coach. So really important, to be prepared for that, and to just understand that not for nothing, we're talking about iPEC, but the program is so comprehensive that the minute you start, you finish mod 1, you can start coaching, right? You've learned so much. Minute you start mod 2, like, hey, get some paying clients at that point, because you have everything it takes. There's a lot of people that call themselves coaches out there, and they have not even have mod 1 under their belt as training. So just think that you have everything it takes within your power, and not because you're a new coach, it means that you haven't been doing nothing your whole life. You have all of your life experiences. Even if you're 20, you got so many life experiences at 20, and you decide to become a coach. I'm sure I could learn from someone that's 20 and a coach, right? Because we all have different things to bring to the table. We are all unique. So I think just really tapping into your uniqueness and using everything you learned so far in life to support your coaching business, so that you can feel more confident in becoming that awesome coach you're going to be.
Yes, thank you. I have something I want to say to that, but first I was going to say, Evan, if you want to drop, we have some contact links if you want to drop those in the chat. So if you have questions after you hang up, sometimes I'll go through an experience, I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up the next day and go, oh, I should have asked this question, or not, I now have this question that I want to ask. And so you're welcome to reach out to the admissions team. You're welcome to reach out to Gina. All of us would love to hear from you. Yeah, what I was going to say is that, is it gone? Oh,
you're talking about imposter syndrome.
Yes,
sorry.
Imposter syndrome. The experience of going through this program already for me has helped me get more clear on the fact that yes, those, imposter syndrome is going to come up, and I can deal with that when it comes up. And part of going through the program is, practicing your coaching skills, and part of going through the program is being coached by other students who are practicing. And so I feel like there's opportunity there also to sort of learn about yourself and uncover those feelings that might be coming up that are driving the imposter syndrome, and sort of work through those as you go. And so I feel like you're not only gaining the skills to coach, but you're sort of, I can't say exactly what I'm trying to say, but you are getting a transformation that helps you sort of help yourself when those things come up. That's not all how I wanted to say that, but if you would like to say it in a better way, great. I feel like my words have escaped me today.
What I'm hearing you say is that not only you're getting all the tools, right, that you need to becoming a great coach, you're also getting coached yourself, right? You're getting the coaching and support that you need to go through your own transformation, right, as you go through. And I think the most important thing is realizing that even coaches need coaches. And yes, throughout the program, you're going to have, a success coach, you're going to have your peer coach, you're going to have a lot of coaches supporting you. But it's really important, if you think about a doctor, right? A doctor goes to school to become a doctor. Do you think that they don't pay other doctors to see them? I think a lot of times people don't realize that if you want to get paid for coaching, you also have to understand that you'll have to hire your own coach. And over the last, over the last 2-3 years, I've had at least 5 different coaches. And I think it's important that you know that you're always going to need a coach for a different thing. And if you want people to pay you, then you need to value the profession, right, as much. And listen, it's a work in progress. Don't think that I'm over imposter syndrome. Every day I do a post or something, I'm like, who am I to be talking about this, right? I'm like, oh, okay, let me remind myself. So imposter syndrome is constant, and negative self-talk is always constant. It's not something that you eliminate. You don't eliminate, I'm a little older than you now, but 40 plus years of negative self-talk. You're not going to eliminate them in a year or two of coaching, but you can definitely make significant progress and gain the tools that you need to help you when that comes up. So I think that that's, really valuable what you're saying there.
Yes. Thank you for saying that in a different way. And yes, it's not necessarily about eradicating something, but it's about greater awareness of when it's coming up and being able to support yourself through that experience, or ask someone else to support you through the experience, and really that all being just part of the process. So it's not that something's wrong. It's not that you've messed up. This is just what it's like to be a human. And now you have these tools that help you be a real human, which you are. We have a message from Facebook Live. Thank you so much for talking about imposter syndrome. I struggle with that a lot. Deeply relatable.
Yeah. It's so common. And, it's something that you don't realize. You can overcome it just by taking a toll of everything you've accomplished in your life, everything you've done, all your life experiences, all your training, just take inventory of all your greatness, and have that handy to support you.
Take inventory of your greatness, because we all have it. We're all incredible. And yeah, I love that. Take inventory of your greatness. Any other questions or comments before we go? Last minute. Thank you so much, Gina, for joining us. Thank you, Evan, for doing the back end. This has been a real delight.
Oh, thank you, Erica, for having me. I really, really appreciate you. And thanks for the opportunity for sharing a little bit about me.
Absolutely. You are so welcome.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.